Hi, everybody. James Escarcega with the man who knows it all, and he's going to give us all the CIF champions, right, Freddie?
Yeah, exactly.
Sure, why not?
The easy time of the year to predict the winners.
I want to just say something here. You know what all these helmets have in common here?
What's that?
They're all in the playoffs, Freddie.
Is that right?
Yep. Except for Cal High.
Okay, I was going to say Cal High didn't make it.
The only one. My bad.
Yeah,
but
that's right. Everyone else is in the playoffs.
So,
how about Almonte and Rio Hondo Prep?
Yeah. So that was some game on Friday, Freddie. I haven't enjoyed myself at a football game more than Friday.
Well, that's because you covered a 2:30 day game under no stress and no deadline, and got to go home while everyone's playing, probably eating your pizza or whatever you were doing. Actually, you went to didn't you go to like a restaurant and do that? And I don't know what you did. But
I have no comment.
That's always fun to cover those.
It was a great game. It was an awesome game. Jonathan Guerrero, our athlete of the week. I just noticed you put him as our athlete of the week. An amazing running back, and it was just a fun time. But let's get to work here, Freddie. We have a caveat to start off with, and that's we're going to just briefly talk about Bishop Amat. They made the playoffs, Freddie. As you predicted, they're going to get Mater Dei. I have some opinions about the whole process. I'm going to wait till next week.
Yeah.
For right now, though, we just mentioned they're going to play Mater Dei on next Friday at the Santa Ana Bowl.
Yeah. You go 9-1. You have the best regular season, during Steve Haggerty's tenure. At least you match it. Mm-hmm. And the reward is you got to play the number one team in the country in the first round. Had you slipped one spot to number 9, James, you're the number one seed in Division II, chasing your first championship since 1995. That's just the reality. I give Steve Haggerty a lot of credit because I asked him the question, in a way that he could have complained about it.
He didn't.
He didn't complain about it. He said, we're going to go down there. We're going to swing our sword. He said,
I like that. I was a little Mike Leach there. I like that.
Someone's got to be
great.
Someone's got to be the 8th seed, and not just us. He didn't complain about the system. I can complain about the system a lot, but
we'll mention it next week. Like I said, we'll talk about it next week.
I will say one thing that I did bring up in the story about that was kind of quirky. When I got down to at Bishop Amat on Friday night, everyone was talking about, hey, Bishop Amat should have been ranked 7th in the coaches poll. That the coaches actually voted them number 7, which would have been a big deal because that extra point, James, would have meant they played St. John Bosco instead of Mater Dei. And you say, no, it would have been a road game.
Okay.
Top 4 seeds all get the home games.
Right. Yeah, you got it.
And you say, well, what's the difference? Mater Dei, St. John Bosco. Well, there is a difference. They're both super teams, but one I think is still far superior to the other, and that was Mater Dei. What happened was CIF decided, and I didn't realize this, Tom Simmons explained it to me, this is something they've done in the past, they decided not to switch the order even though that's where the coaches voted them because they felt like this had been the order for the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Ridiculous.
And they didn't want to allow it to happen.
You know what's called?
I didn't know that they could ever do that. I during the year, James, how many times do we see Bonita ranked number 1?
Yep.
Never lost a game, and all of a sudden they dropped to number 3.
Right.
Happened to Glendora as well.
Yep.
They didn't make an exception there. So you're going to do it at the end of the year.
It's ridiculous.
In Division I when this impacts who you're going to play. I just didn't like that they would decide.
It's called changing the goalposts.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah,
don't like
exactly.
It.
I didn't like that they would
and
decide to do that
it.
at the end of the year when all is on the line. And I just didn't like it.
No.
So,
but again, and
in CI's defense, Tom Simmons says this is something they've done before.
Yeah.
I believe him. He's not going to lie to me about that. I just don't like it.
Nope.
You're going to have a coaches poll. Let the coaches be the coaches poll, and don't interfere with it.
Okay, we're going to talk about this more next week because I have some definitive opinions about it, but I just wanted to say I don't like changing the goalposts. It's just awful. So let's go right to work, Freddie. We're going to start in Division III where we have 2 area teams here. And I mentioned this on the Saturday morning quarterback on Saturday. When you get into these 14 leagues, Freddie, the margin of error is so infinite that if you have a bad loss, there's ramifications. So here's St. Francis. They look absolutely great on Friday. They beat Cathedral, just demolished them, 38-0. Right. They look like a first-place team. They should have been a first-place team. But they have a bad loss to Crespi. They lose the coin flip. They lose the head-to-head matchup. Now they play a Cajon team that only has 2 losses to Helix and to Servite. This is a really good team, Freddie.
Cajon is favored. If you look at the Cal Preps, I think they're about a touchdown favorite in that game, and you got to go on the road.
It's a difference, Freddie.
Hey, look, I've said all along, Division 3, James, there are no easy first-round games. I don't care who you play.
Right.
I think Division 3, you can argue, at the top is just as competitive as Division 2. When you look at Grace Brethren, La Habra, I think they can compete with those teams.
Right.
Sierra Canyon, that's number 1. And I mean, I think you can make an argument that the best teams in Division 3 are better than the best teams in Division 2.
Right.
So St. Francis, going in as a third-place team because of the circumstances that you just explained, it's tough.
Very.
But you get by that, then the draw might open up a little bit for yourself. You get a home game in the next round.
Yeah, but you got to play Corona Del Mar.
Yeah.
Corona Del Mar was, if you look at the Cal Preps ratings, was one of the top 8 teams in the southern section.
Yeah. I never thought this was St. Francis's year to win a CIF championship. It's a tough road, but hey, look. They're a team that can probably beat anyone in that division on any given day.
Right.
There's also a better chance they can get beaten by any of these teams on any given day. I like Cajon to end their season on Friday.
Yeah, and it's a away game for St. Francis as well. Another game when I was doing a little research on here, Freddie, is Capistrano Valley is playing at La Habra. And we all know that La Habra has been, as you mentioned, continually was on vacation mode for the last 5 weeks. And at first blush, you look at Capistrano Valley, even though they're 4-6, the losses to San Juan Hills, 7-3, Yorba Linda, 9-1, Cypress, 10-0, Mission Viejo, 10-0, San Clemente, 8-2, Tesoro, 8-2.
Boy, James has been doing his homework coming in here. You are as prepared as you've ever been for the first round of the playoffs. But you know what, James? It's still 6 losses.
Right.
And you can slice them up any way you want. La Habra, the teams that they've lost to this year speak for themselves. You can make that same argument. I just think that they've been itching for the playoffs. They should be as rested as anyone. They've had opportunities to put teams away early in the Freeway League. Yeah. The only thing you worry about is a little rust early on because they've been so anxious. They've been waiting for the playoffs for so long. Mm-hmm. I think once they get their feet wet in that first quarter and get going, I think they're going to roll and win this game handily, actually.
I had an opportunity to talk to 2 South Orange County coaches Sunday night, asked them about Capital Valley, and they said, well, they'll probably make it competitive early, but they have a lot of two-way guys, where La Habra has a lot of one-way guys, and that'll make the difference in the second half. And they all both told me that La Habra will win by 28. They will play the winner of Heritage at Edison, which would be a rematch, Freddie, of last year's, I believe, first-round game in which La Habra won in overtime. Well, maybe 2 years ago. But we'll take La Habra in that spot.
Like I said, there's not going to be, after they get through the first round, in the first round I think they'll be okay. All those games are toss-ups after that. I've always felt that way about those divisions 2 and 3. Not Division 1. That's the most predictable division of all 14 divisions. But 2 and 3, I think once you get to the second round, it's anybody's ball game.
Division 4. And the first game we're going to talk about is a game that's been switched. It's on Thursday now over at District Field, and that's Eastvale Roosevelt is playing at South Hills. Freddie, we got some major problems here with South Hills. Khalil Ali, their starting quarterback, not going to be able to play. According to John Hunnell's story that we posted on Friday night, he got ejected in the fourth quarter. Can't be having that in Week 10, Freddie.
No. And I think Division 4, when you look at the local teams that are in Division 4 from our area, James, La Mirada, Damien, and South Hills, they're in Division 4 as a result of what they've done the 2 previous years.
Right.
None of them have particularly had great seasons. I guess you could say La Mirada had a turnaround season.
They did.
They were all the way up in Division 2. They've been still sliding down. I don't think this is a division they can quite win yet. I don't like any of our team's chances in the first round on Friday, particularly South Hills with Khalil Ali being out. Eastvale Roosevelt may be, I think, 4 and 6.
Yep.
They play in a tough league. I remember when they played Charter Oak a couple of years ago and won that game in the semifinals. They went on to beat St. Francis, I believe, in the championship. Yeah. A lot of athletes down there. That's a football school. I don't see any way possible South Hills gets past this game on Thursday night.
Roosevelt did play a local team this year, Freddie. They did play Glendora and lost to them 34-7. So that's an interesting score as we keep in mind here.
Yeah.
And I do like La Mirada, by the way, over Downey. Downey comes off an emotional loss.
You're right.
They had an emotional loss to Warren. Last play of the game, Freddie. I don't know if you had a chance to read the story, but if you read the story from the Warren Downey game, unbelievable. And as you mentioned, Damien has the number 2 seed in Camarillo. Their season.
Do we even need to discuss that one? I mean, they're going to lose that. Yeah, no. I take that back. I am taking La Mirada to win on Friday. So I've got La Mirada and La Habra. The 2 laws are in.
Okay.
And
we still have
2 laws are in.
We got one more to go here, which we'll talk about here shortly.
We'll get to it.
Let's get to Division 5. And we'll start here with El Medina at St. Paul. Now, St. Paul was
Great
credited.
division this is.
Let's put some technicalities here. St. Paul is 9-1. They got a forfeit win because of the situation with Narbonne. With the forfeiture of the games. They have a home game against El Medina, who is an at-large team from the Crestview League. Kind of like St. Paul here, Freddie. The team I'm really concerned about here, Frederick, is Glendora. They play Lompoc, which has always notoriously been a very good team. They've won 5 of their last 6 games. They look good. Absolutely dangerous game for Glendora. I'm sure when they saw the brackets and they know traditionally how good those teams are out there, they said, this is Lompoc, that's pretty tough. What are they, the 3rd seed? They are the 3rd seed in the tournament, yes. That's pretty tough when you're the 3rd seed. I still think Glendora is going to do enough to win that game, and they're going to be at home. But boy, James, it could be one that they're going to have to really, really roll up their sleeves and drink their bottle of Get Tough. I'm going to take the upset here. I'm taking the Lompoc as the upset here. And I'll tell you what, in this Division 5, I like St. Paul to win it all. Okay. I do. Okay. I think, what were they seeded for? 5th. I think they're one of those teams when you look at, I thought they got, the Narbonne loss got away from them. Who else did they play that was a pretty competitive game and a loss? Sierra Canyon. Sierra Canyon. They played that pretty competitive. Very competitive. I think St. Paul is battle tested. I think they're the team that you've got to watch for. Glendora was number 1 in this division for a lot of weeks until they suffered their loss to Ayala and they started slipping down. Mm-hmm. St. Paul is my team to watch. I really think they're going to do it. I think Glendora can get to the quarterfinals or semifinals. I have some reservations about them, the way they played against Bonita, the way they fell to Ayala. I'm not sure for whatever reason that they're going to go all the way. I just see some chinks in their armor that I didn't like. But hey, who knows? It's the playoffs. Things change. Another interesting first-round game, Freddie, in the bottom half of the bracket finds Etiwanda traveling to Diamond Ranch. Etiwanda from the Baseline League, Diamond Ranch from the Hacienda League, the Hacienda League champions. Freddie, I mentioned this game because, most years you would say, okay, Etiwanda might have an edge because it's the Baseline League and everything. No way. But if there's a coach in the area that knows the Baseline League real well, that's not in the Baseline League, it's Eric Martinez, having been an old assistant coach at Upland. I think he'll have his guys ready to roll here. Yeah, Diamond Ranch is an interesting team, and I say that because when you look at their 3 losses, James, Bishop Amat, La Habra, and undefeated Ayala, which beat Glendora. They've beaten everyone they're supposed to beat. They beat Los Altos. They beat Chino Hills, which is a team in the Baseline League. Mm-hmm. I really liked them when I saw them that first week in that loss to Bishop Amat because it was really competitive. They played Bishop Amat as competitive as any teams in the Mission League did, with the exception of Loyola. So they played them actually more competitive than Loyola. They're another team that's a sleeper. I don't want to say they're going to go on and win this division, but it would not be a shock to me at all if they made a deep run because they've got athletes all over the field. I love their quarterback. He's a durable quarterback who can run and pass. Cade Miller. Yeah, Cade Miller. James, they could be dangerous. They're a team you really, really, really have to watch. And I think when you look at that Division 5, if any of those teams in Division 5 played that same schedule, they might have lost those same 3 games. Yeah. So you'll leave it at that. Yeah, you can also see a Glendora versus Diamond Ranch game in the quarterfinals. That would be very nice. Huge. That would be second round. Quarterfinals, second round, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so if they both win, they play in the next round, James. Correct. Thank you very much. Let's move on here. Division 6 finds Lucerna, the number 3 seed, with a rematch against Warren. They played earlier this year. So here's the problem, Freddie, for me. This is my 3rd lot. I know it's your first lot. Tell me what your problem is. Okay, my problem is, and I think Lucerna is going to win on Friday. What is going to be the mentality of this team? Kids today, when you beat up on somebody, there you go. When you beat all 3 teams, a team like this, 50-6, now you got to play them again. There's always that mentality of, wow, we beat these guys earlier, so we may not have to practice as hard this week. That's the problem here, Freddie, Well, I think it's a problem when you beat a team 14-13, right, and you have to play them again. Right. I think when you beat them 50-6, you might have sort of a little mental ownership over them that I think you're going to be okay. Are they going to be a little overconfident? I don't know. They might be, but I think when you beat a team 50-6, that you can overcome overconfidence in a game like that. If something happens and they score the first touchdown, that bell's going to ring pretty quick, James, and that sense of urgency will kick in, and they'll do what they have to do to win the game. Are they going to win 50-6 again? Probably not. Warren hasn't had a particularly good season as it is. 7-3. Yeah.
Yeah, but
and they come off a big win against Downey on Friday night.
Okay.
So we'll see what
Lacerna's going to roll in this game, I think,
it.
by a couple touchdowns.
The game right beneath it, so they'll play the winner of the Los Altos at St. Margaret's game. And I talked to several coaches, Freddie, because I wasn't quite familiar with St. Margaret's, and they all told me the same thing. St. Margaret's is legit. Their offense is legit. Their quarterback is legit. And they did play La Mirada early this year.
They beat La Mirada, didn't they?
They did. It was a very close game.
Yeah.
I have been told Los Altos is in big trouble.
Yeah, they are a football school. St. Margaret's, that's a team, James. I traveled down there when Sierra Vista played them in the soccer championship. Is that game at St. Margaret's, too?
Yes,
I believe that it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes. It's a crazy little facility. There's stands on only one side of the field, and you're right on top of the field. So if you're Los Altos and you're traveling, get down there early. All the fans are on the same side. It's a kind of a unique little stadium. But yeah, they've got some athletes down there, James. They've got some big boys, and that's going to be a really tough game for them.
I'm taking St. Margaret's here.
Don't want to go against Los Altos, but I think you're right. I think St. Margaret's, this is a game that, you look at what they did to La Mirada, you look at the league they're in, and just being down there and being at home. I think Los Altos is somewhat vulnerable. They didn't beat South Hills the way I thought they should beat South Hills.
Yep.
I'm going to go with St. Margaret's, too.
Only one local team in Division 7 here, Freddie, and that's for Northview. They will have a home game on
James'
Friday
sleeper.
night. It's my sleeper team. They play Ventura, who is the third-place team from the Pacific View League. They're 5-5. They won 3 of the last 4 games. I was looking, Freddie, for that big game, that big effort from Northview last week against Roland, and they got it.
Yeah.
And I think they're ready to roll here.
Yeah, and I think they got Roland, had the little letdown after losing to San Dimas.
And a more bigger letdown because they didn't make the playoffs.
And then they didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Northview's a big curiosity for me because I don't like their 2 losses of how they lost.
Correct.
I didn't like how they were manhandled against Los Altos.
Yep.
And I didn't like how they couldn't score enough to beat San Dimas with the type of athletes that they have. But they have bounced back. They bounced back, though, James, against teams that they should have beaten the rest of the way after the San Dimas loss. Mm-hmm. I really don't know with them. They're probably the most difficult team for me to handicap because I don't know what to expect. They did have a pretty good win on the resume when you look at beating El Rancho earlier in the year. I do like them to win this first-round game. I'm not sure that I can depend on them after that.
They'll probably play Cypress, who's the 4 seed in the tournament in the next round. Who they're playing a Huntington Beach team that's 2-8, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Some of these teams are 2-8 and 1-9.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous stuff. Division 9, and we have quite a
great division.
What
a division!
So let's first talk about LaSalle from the Delray League taking on San Dimas, champions of the Valley Vista League. Mentioned in the notebook today, Freddie, we have 2 teams in different trajectories. Ben By's terrific job in his first year over at LaSalle. Mark Holman, probably his finest coaching job, I think, in a while, in turning San Dimas. And by the way, they're 9-1. I did not know they had that forfeit win over Whittier.
Yeah, LaSalle's an interesting one because when you think of their league, they went into that the Angeles League, James.
The Delray League.
The Delray League, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. They had to play
St. Paul, Harvard Westlake.
It was tough.
Tough league.
Tough league.
St. Anthony.
Tough league. You could obviously say that's tougher than the Valley Vista, which is what San Dimas went through.
Yeah.
They were really good at non-league, blowing a lot of those teams out. I think they just lost that one non-league game by 1 point. Going into
I want
the
this
final.
pick here.
Well, I think Ben Byes is a really great coach.
Yeah.
That I think he's going to look at San Dimas. I don't think they're a team that they're going to be intimidated by San Dimas. I don't think they're going to be physically overmatched.
Okay.
I think that they may be able to handle this. And I'm picking an upset on Friday.
Write it down.
I'm taking LaSalle in my upset special of the week. And oh man, I got to go into the Lion's Den at San Dimas on Friday, covering that game.
There it is.
With LaSalle.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. I just think I think they have a shot. I think there's always upsets in the first round. San Dimas, has showed the ability. You look at the game against Whittier that they lost. You look at how they had to win by a point to beat Covina. LaSalle could be one of those teams.
Okay.
I'm not guaranteeing it by any stretch, but this is the upset I'm going to call in the first round.
I'm taking San Dimas, but you've just booked your spot somewhere this week on Mark Holman's motivational video. So
I don't know about that. I'm not trying to pick on San Dimas. I just
but he'll give me that. You know what's going to happen Friday.
What they did, I realize how good their league is, and they were going to have some losses. I think it's just one of those games. I bet Ben Bies, as he prepares to play for that offense, is going to have a game plan that gives them a chance to be in it in the fourth quarter, and then we'll see.
Winner of this game will take on the winner of the Troy versus Foothill game. Foothill, top seed in Division 9. We both like Monrovia here also, Freddie. They host Santa Fe. Santa Fe getting in as an at-large team at 3-6. Monrovia, great job by Chris Williams. They'll play the winner of Newport Harbor versus St. Anthony.
Yeah.
And then, Freddie, at the bottom of the bracket is Bonita, the number 2 seed. They have a rematch against Highland from last year's semifinal, in which Highland won 42-27. I have a feeling there were some memories here from some of these players that from last year. They want to take some revenge.
Yeah, what's Highland's record?
7-3 and 7-3.
I don't think they're obviously not the same team they were last year. I remember everybody talking about them last year, and I from what I've heard, they did graduate a lot of talented players from
their
that
own
team.
line was pretty
So I think Bonita's in a much better spot. Okay. Although what I don't like is Bonita, even though they're the number 2 seed in that division, they lost the 3-way. They didn't lose because they're third. They're playing a second-place team. They're on the road,
correct,
in the first round,
correct,
as a number 2 seed, and that could be great sometimes, but it could be dangerous. It's great if you can go down there and get that win, because that means that you didn't waste a home game, and you can use those later down the line as the playoffs go if you're going to be the number 2 seed that you expect to be. So this is one of those games. If they can go steal a game on the road, that means they're probably at home in the next round, James.
Okay.
Or there's a good chance, but there'll be home games down the line. I like Bonita. I think they handled themselves well against Glendora. I think the Ayala game maybe got away from them a little bit, but they've done enough this season. And the fact that they did lose to Hyden last year, I think is going to be motivation enough to go get the job done.
Division 10 has 2 local teams, Montebello.
Who else do we have in Division 9? You didn't even mention.
That's it.
That was it, huh?
That's it. I'm looking at the sheet here. Do you want to see if there's anybody else?
That was it, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Monrovia, well, we talked about them.
Yeah, we talked about them already. So
right.
Let's go to Division 10 quickly, Freddie, where Montebello takes on JW North. The JW North is number 3 seed in the tournament. And congratulations to Justin Mesa over at San Marino. He got the ship kind of circled around. They made the playoffs as a second-place team in the Rio Hondo League. They'll travel to Orange. Very physical team. Our chances of the local teams advancing here probably slim to none here, Freddie.
Yeah, Division 10, when I was just writing the preview story yesterday when everyone was going, I said, boy, this is one where we've got 3 area teams in it to just go there and take their L's and move on. It was more about getting to the playoffs. And you mentioned San Marino. That was just a result of the Rio Hondo League being really down this year, so they were able to finish second.
Yeah.
I think they'll be in for it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't like anyone coming out of that. Excuse me.
Bless you.
There we go.
Yeah, good job. Division 11. Let's have fun here, Freddie, because we're going to start with
my division.
It's your division. Okay, you didn't have to sit to the Rose Bowl on Thursday night with 2 of these teams. So let's first start talking about Pasadena. They take on Cerritos Valley Christian. This game will be at Cerritos Valley Christian on Friday night. Valley Christian 7-3. Pasadena 6-3. Pasadena coming off a 33-0 loss here to Muir at the Turkey Tussle last Thursday at the Rose Bowl. As I was arriving, Freddie, they just threw another penalty flag on the field there at the Rose Bowl, because that's how many penalties they had. 45 penalties in all, Freddie. I
hate to pick on West San Gabriel Valley officiating crews.
I don't, because they're horrible.
But every time I'm involved, and I was out in an Arroyo game with against El Monte this year, and it was the same thing. I mean, it was flag after flag, and I noted it out in my story. Every time I get down there, it's just they take over the game.
It's ridiculous.
These marathon games, so when you were writing all that, and you're like, I'm not shocked, and I wish in a game like that they'd let the guys play a little bit. You don't have to call every stinking thing that looks like a foul, because anyone can do that. I mean, there's a lot of interpretations in football where you can make these games last all night, and they've got to do something about that, because it happens over and over and over on the West Side. The good news is they won't have these officiating crews in the playoffs for the most part.
No, sir. But I do like Pasadena here.
Do you?
I do. Here's the reason why. We have a common opponent here, Freddie, and that's Maranatha. 2 weeks ago, Cerritos barely beat Maranatha 21 and Valley Christian barely beat Maranatha 21-19. Pasadena beat them back in week 1, 41-7.
Yeah. No, I like Pasadena too. Look, I think, coming out of the Pacific League where you have Crescenta Valley and you have Muir and you have the Burbanks, all those schools would do well in Division 11, and Muir being one of the top seeds in it. So I do like Pasadena to win this. Heck, you might see Pasadena Muir back in the semifinals.
I'll take that.
Right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's a real possibility because they're on the same side of the draw.
Someone tweeted me that, I forget who it was, I guess the last time this has happened was in 1985 or 86 or somewhere around that time that they played in the
I remember
semifinals
Tony
at
Brooks
PCC.
mentioning that, and that would be a great place to have it, although whoever wins the coin flip can host that game at home, and why wouldn't they?
Exactly. Speaking of Muir, they host Brentwood on Friday night. Muir came in as the 4 seed. Brentwood's 3 losses to Fillmore, Palisades, and Oak Park, and Freddie has made his pick.
The mighty Mustangs.
Okay.
J-O.
Yes, sir.
J-O. J-O-H-N.
Yes, sir.
M-U. M-U.
sir.
M-U-I-R.
All right.
J-O-H-N-M-U-I-R. J-O-H-N-M-U-I-R.
I will. Can I make an observation?
I just, that is from having 2 parents who both went to Muir High School. You remember those chants. I really like Muir in this division, James. When they dropped them from Division 1 for losing to Crescenta Valley, say what you want. I think they're the most talented team, and it's going to be on them. Penalties are going to play a big role. They can't beat themselves.
You mentioned
but
that Sunday, yeah.
If Muir plays Muir football and they take care of business, I think this is a division they can go right through and win that first championship since the 1980s.
I think that they have.
During the glorious
I think they're
Jim
better than
Brownfield
Beaumont.
days.
This
is your opportunity right now. You've had a lot of bad years, Muir. You've slipped down to a Division 11 where you probably shouldn't be. You're probably better than that. But take advantage of this opportunity right now. I know you got to start by winning game 1, but this is a division, James, I think they can win.
Bottom side of the bracket has Compton and El Rancho. My other long shot here, Freddie. They're the number 3 seed in this tournament, and they will play the winner of Hemet versus Arroyo. That's an interesting game, Freddie.
I don't know if I like Arroyo going very far, but this is a game Arroyo can possibly win, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's any.
We'll get El Rancho and Arroyo in the second round.
Yeah, but Arroyo just hasn't been the Arroyo that we're used to. They don't have the talent this year that they've had in years past. It's not that they're coached any differently. Jim Singheiser always does a great job. I just don't think they're going to have the horses, or as Coach Gano says, the bullets to
correct
to win a game like this.
Division 12, and we should mention right off the bat here, no third-place teams made the tournament here because there
what
was
a shame that Roland didn't get in.
Yeah.
Obviously, Pasadena Poly couldn't get in as an at-large as a second-place team.
Just too many league champions on the sheet here, so to speak. El Monte, the top seed, will take on Ocean View, whose 3 losses were to Beckman, Westminster, and Western. I think El Monte will be just fine. Interesting game also here. Northwood taking on Rio Hondo Prep. The 2 losses for Northwood were to Dana Hills and Portola. I will say this, having watched Rio Hondo Prep in person, boy, their offensive line gets after it, man. Woo, physical.
Yeah. And kudos to them under pressure in a close game, 21-21 in the final minute for pulling that out against Pasadena Poly to get in the playoffs. Because to me, all the pressure was on them.
Yeah.
They were the undefeated team. They were a ranked team. To be in a situation where you have to win in the final day to get in the playoffs, when you see teams that are 1-9 getting at-large berths in upper divisions, that was a tough position for them to be in.
Yeah.
They were on the road. They took care of business. And now, I like Rio Hondo Prep. Remember, El Monte's the number 1 seed in this division.
It is.
El Monte and Rio Hondo Prep have a common opponent, James. Who? Arroyo.
Yep.
Rio Hondo Prep beat Arroyo as bad as anybody's beaten Arroyo, as bad as Bonita.
Yeah.
El Monte struggled to beat Arroyo. Don't be surprised if Rio Hondo Prep makes a run. I like them to win on Friday, and then we'll see what happens.
You know who's in attendance at the game Friday afternoon?
Who's that?
The coaching staff from El Monte.
Really? Yeah, because they want to see what it's all about.
Yeah. The other local team here has Maranatha, the second-place team from the Olympic League, taking on second-seeded Oak Park on the road.
Good night. The party's over.
Yeah.
We have to talk about it.
Yeah, we'll move on here. Division 13 will start at the top here, Freddie, with Alhambra. They're 10-0, number 1 seed, taking on Diamond Bar, who got in. They lost to Greg Gano's team of all teams, Don Lugo, on Friday night. They lost the head-to-head to get the other AQ, so they had to wait 48 hours until they got word that they got in. Great story here, Freddie.
Yeah, great. First, Alhambra, and thank you to Steve Jawecki, for the baseball coach, for sending me the stat. This is their first undefeated regular season since 1955, Alhambra,
Oh my
which
gosh.
is also the only time that they'd played for a championship and lost. So you're talking about an awful long time since they've had a year like that. So congratulations to Alhambra. That's historical in itself.
Yep.
This first round game is tough.
It's interesting, isn't
Diamond Bar could be a dangerous team. Although I do know that Bonita played Diamond Bar early in the season and beat him as bad as you can beat a team.
Right.
I don't know. I do like Alhambra's chances to win this game. They're the favorite. I don't know if it's going to be a blowout, but Alhambra's scary in that, they had that game that they had to come back when they were way down against, was it Montebello?
Montebello.
Early in the season.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, so, hey, look, you never know, but these aren't league teams, so you don't have that rivalry and that same kind of, things that go into it. Mm-hmm. I like them to beat Diamond Bar at home and move on, and let's see if they're capable. They're the number one team. Let's see if they can carry this through.
Another couple other games here. Rim of the World's taking on Catwell Sacred Heart of Mary. Great job by the coaching staff at Catwell Sacred Heart of Mary. Last year 1-9, this year 7-3, and champions of the Camino Real League. This game can go either way, in my opinion. Having known both teams. Ramona's taking on Rosemead, second place team in the Mission Valley League. Rosemead, I believe, was the fourth seed in the tournament, and South Pasadena taking on Fillmore. Fillmore was the number 3 seed in the tournament.
Out of those three teams, the one I think that has a chance to move on is Cantwell. I really do.
Yeah, that's a great job that they've done this year. Finally, Division 14. So let's talk about the number 2 seed, Sierra Vista. They will play Riverside Prep.
City Vista.
That's your man. That's your school. Boy, did they catch the biggest break they can possibly get Friday night.
Azusa lost.
Azusa
had the league championship wrapped up. All they had to do was beat
Gladstone,
and they lost that game.
And guess what that meant? Workman got in.
And it also meant that Sierra Vista wins the league title outright. They're the number 2 seed, James. And hey, I really like their chances. They're going to have everybody back now. Everybody should be eligible for the playoffs. even the guy that was had to do the sit-out period.
He's done
for the 5 forfeits. He's back now that the playoffs start.
Okay.
They've been blowing everybody out. And I was looking at this division. If you look at a lot of the teams in it, that St. Pius, they're a 9-0 team at the top of the division. But I like Sierra Vista. When you look at, Laura, an 8-2 team from Garden Grove, I think they can handle that.
Yeah.
Portola's a 9-1 team, who's the 4th seed.
Yeah.
I just think Sierra Vista's built for it this year. I think they're going to have a good chance. And wouldn't that be something?
It'll be fun.
If they go through a season where everyone's been wanting to shut them up, and nobody can shut them up. No one's been able to do it this year.
The Workman Ganesha game was one that kind of jumped out at me, Freddie, because we were at the all-league meeting.
They played in the first round?
They played in the first round. At the not the all-league meeting, but the realigning meeting that took place over the spring, we were both there. Wasn't it the Ganesha AD that was standing next to me, you, and the Damien principal, Merritt Hemingway, saying, we just want to be in the tournament. We haven't been in one. We just want a chance to be in there. Well, they're in there now.
Yeah,
this is the first time.
I think you're right.
I think this is the first time they've been in the playoffs in 25 years.
Yeah, and good for Ganesha. I know I saw them earlier in the year against Sierra Vista. That was one of the games that I went to, and I thought they held themselves well for a half in that game, and I actually thought we were going to have an upset there, and Ganesha was going to beat them.
Yeah.
But they have some guys. They can move the football. It's a game I'm going to pick them to win on Friday. I think they're going to get into the second round.
But I just remember that. That was like the most striking thing was the AD standing in front of.
And the coach is a great coach over there.
Yeah.
He's a super nice guy. You see him, he's active on Twitter a little bit.
But I just remember that. It was just one of those haunting things I remember from that realignment meeting, the Mount Sac realignment, was him right in front of Merritt Hemingway saying, you're complaining about this. We just want to be in the playoffs.
Right.
And guess what? They're finally in, Freddie. And that is what it's all about. Soapbox time. 1 minute. Go.
Soapbox?
What do you got something on your mind here? Let it rip.
Wow, you just kind of threw that out.
I did.
No, it's just, the first round of the playoffs, James, are always, to me, the best time because everyone's in it. It feels like it's all fresh. After this week is when it starts to get really interesting because they're the quarterfinals. The second week, we're going to get into Bishop Amat at Mater Dei.
Yep.
And, man,
just changing the goalpost.
I just don't know what you say about that.
It's called changing the goalpost. But as someone told me also on Sunday, CIF pays the bills. They pay for everything so they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And that is true. Until the day that we get to pay the bills, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
It's their show. So a lot going on. We'll have coverage all week leading up to Friday. We'll have coverage of the Thursday game between South Hills and
Eastvale Roosevelt
on Thursday, and then we'll be all over the place on Friday. We'll have the Saturday morning quarterback. Just make sure you're with us. And
guess what? In a couple of weeks, we'll be talking basketball.
Can't wait, Freddie. Boy, it's going to be a great season. Great season.
The volleyball playoffs. All 3 teams are eliminated.
We're done.
Saturday.
We're done. We're done for the
state playoffs, probably.
Probably.
Will they all get in as semifinals? Is that automatic?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're all in. Congratulations to Pauly and to South Pasadena and to Roland. They all had a great job this year. I've got to spend a day and put together the all-area team. That's going to be tough.
We got some water polo playoffs starting this week.
Water polo started on Friday. Tennis being announced here within the next hour. So we have a lot going on here, Freddie. Until next week, we'll be back here at the table. We will see you all at the games. Freddie, thank you all very much. All right.